أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ربي اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي اللهم افتح علينا حكمتك وانشر علينا رحمتك يا ذا الجلال والإكرام. O Allah, open the doors of wisdom and mercy and shower your blessings upon us. وصلى اللهم على محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين والحمد لله رب العالمين. Ameen. Asim, whenever you're ready, please begin. Thank you.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. We are reading from the flashes, the 17th flash, the 13th note, and the fourth matter on the book, page 182. So the fourth matter, one should not accept bounties which arrive at the hands of apparent causes on account of the causes. One should not accept bounties which arrive at the hands of apparent causes on account of the causes. If a cause like an animal or a tree does not possess will, it gives the bounty directly on account of Almighty God. It says, in the name of God, through the tongue of disposition, and gives it to you. So you too should say, in the name of God, and take it for God's sake. If the cause possesses will, he should say, in the name of God, and you may accept it. Otherwise, you should refuse it. Apart from its explicit meaning, the verse, eat not meats in parentheses on which God's name has not been pronounced. Quran chapter 6, verse 121. Eat not of meats on which God's name has not been pronounced. Has an implicit meaning. So it has an explicit meaning, and then there's an implicit meaning, which is do not partake of bounties that do not recall the true bestower of bounties and are not given in his name. All right, so do not partake of bounties that do not recall the true bestower of bounties and are not given in his name. Since this is so, both the one who gives and the one who receives should say in the name of God. If the giver does not say it and you are in need, you say in the name of God, and seeing the hand of divine mercy upon him, kiss it in thanks and take the bounty from him. If the giver does not say it in the name of God and you are in need, you say in the name of God, and seeing the hand of divine mercy upon him, kiss it in thanks and take the bounty from him. That is to say, look from the bounty to the bestowal. And from the bestowal, think of the true bestower. To reflect in this way is a sort of thanks. Then, if you wish, offer a prayer for the apparent means, since it was by his hand that the bounty was sent to you. What deceives those who worship apparent causes is the two things coming together or being together, which is called association. What deceives those who worship apparent causes is the two things coming together or being together, which is called association. They suppose the two things cause one another. Also, since the non-existence of one thing is the cause of a bounty's non-existence, they suppose that the thing's existence is also the cause of the bounty's existence. They offer their thanks and gratitude to the thing and fall into error. For a bounty's existence results from all the bounty's conditions and preliminaries. A bounty's existence results from all the bounty's conditions and preliminaries, whereas the bounty's non-existence occurs through the non-existence of only a single condition. For example, someone who does not open the canal to water the garden is the reason and cause of the garden drying up and the non-existence of bounties. But the existence of the garden's bounties is dependent on hundreds of conditions besides the man's duty, and the bounties come into being through dominical will and power, which are the true cause. For example, someone who does not open the canal to water the garden is the reason and cause of the garden drying up and the non-existence of bounties. But the existence of the garden's bounties is dependent on hundreds of conditions besides the man's duty, and the bounties come into being through dominical will and power, which are the true cause. So understand just how clear is the error of this sophistry and how mistaken are those who worship causes. Yes, association is one thing, and the cause is another. You receive a bounty, but the intention of a person to bestow it on you was the associate of the bounty, not the cause. You receive a bounty, but the intention of a person to bestow it on you was the associate of the bounty, not the cause. The cause was divine mercy. If the man had not intended to give you the bounty, you would not have received it, and it would have been the cause of the bounty's non-existence. But in consequence of the above rule, the desire to bestow cannot be the cause of the bounty. It can only be one out of hundreds of conditions. For example, some of the risale-i students like Huzrev and Rafet, who have received Almighty God's bounties, have confused the association and the cause, and have been over grateful to their master. However, Almighty God put together the bounty of benefiting from the Quranic instruction which He bestowed on them, and the bounty of instructing which He had bestowed on their master. He associated the two. They say, if our master had not come here, we would not have received this instruction. So his instruction is the cause of our benefiting. However, I say, brothers and sisters, the bounties Almighty God bestowed on you and on me arrive together. The cause of both bounties is divine mercy. The bounties Almighty God bestowed on you and on me arrived together. The cause of both bounties is divine mercy. Like you, I at one time confused the association with the cause and felt much gratitude towards the hundreds of Risale-i Nur students with diamond pens like yourselves. I would say if it had not been for them, how could have a semi-literate unfortunate like myself have performed this service? Then I understood that after bestowing on you the sacred bounty by means of the pen, He bestowed on me success in this service. He associated the two. They were not the cause of each other. He associated the two. They were not the cause of each other. I do not thank you, but congratulate you. You too pray for me and congratulate me, rather than being grateful to me. It may be understood from this fourth matter just how many degrees there are in heedlessness. All right, so that is what the fourth matter is about. So let me try to summarize this a little bit, because this is about causality and how we look at the world. And it's interesting how the author, looking at the verse, which has an explicit meaning of, the Surah Al-An'am, like 121, chapter 6, verse 121, which is, eat not of meats on which God's name has not been pronounced, and how he is taking that verse and relating that to how we are supposed to read the universe and seeing that everything is coming from a single cause. So anything that we see in terms of that, we always are running into these situations in our experience every time, when we go, let's say we plant, I don't know, if we plant or we have gardens in our backyard or not, or we are exposed to that. But a simple example would be, the planting of a seed and then, watering it and putting it in the right atmosphere and with the proper sunlight, and then you get a shoot, and then you wait for a certain time, and then after a while, let's say it's a fruit tree, then you start seeing the fruits. So we, in our, the way we are looking at it, it seems, because we are exposed to time and space conditions in this universe, so we experience it stage by stage. But in terms of how what the author is pointing out is about looking at the universe from the existential point of view and seeing that, questioning the existence of each and every moment and each and everything that we are experiencing. So although to us, it may seem that yes, we needed the sunlight and the water and the soil, all that are part of the the result that we are seeking, which is what the tree and the fruits are. But according to how the author is presenting, actually that is, he calls them, they are the preliminaries or the associates, and they cannot be the source of existence of whatever the result that you see. So the fruit that we see is the actual cause is actually the one who gives that fruit existence, along with the tree and the soil and the water and everything. So it's not something that the tree is giving existence to the fruit, or because of the soil and the water that the fruit has been coming into existence, but everything is being given existence at the same time. So this is all the theoretical aspect of it in terms of how to understand, what the existence, and to get away from the causality and realizing that each moment is being given existence by the one who gives existence, who is able to give existence, and therefore there is only one, that single source that is responsible for giving existence. So that was a very brief takeaway from this, but if anybody wants to make a comment or say something, add to this, please feel free to raise your hands, or we can go paragraph by paragraph if it is necessary, if you guys think so. Yes, Fariha, go ahead.
And just to add on to what you said, it seems that there's no escaping in terms of interacting with the apparent causes. And that's how it is. So since you also pointed out about looking at things from an existential point of view, only that can help one weed out or connecting everything to its true source. So just typical practical example, if the mailman brings us mail or a gift or something from someone, we take it in and we say, hey, thank you. It's obvious that the mailman is just the middle guy, or it means to deliver a gift to me. I'm the recipient. And obviously, I look for the sender of the gift, and that is the one that I truly and sincerely thank. And also, I'm in acknowledgement of the mailman, because if he did not deliver it, then I would not receive it. I mean, and that's how our interactions and transactions go on in the universe. And so I wanted to take this example and point out the piece here. I'm going to highlight it. Hamim is highlighting it. It stood out to me when the author says, that is to say, look from the bounty to the bestowal, and from the bestowal, think of the true bestower. All right. So to reflect in this way is a sort of thanks. So with everything that we interact with, automatically, we are grateful for the things around us. It is as if things are working in harmony. It's like teamwork. But even though when people work as a team to deliver a product, like is there one person who's actually producing it? No, it's like a whole team effort. And so definitely we have to be grateful for everything in creation around us. And it would be also foolish to just be grateful to the universe or created things, because everything is transient, just like you and I, subject to perishing and departing. So one then really needs to seek out or look for a true owner, or the source of existence of thing, or like just the author is saying here, the true bestower of everything in creation. And I just wanted to add this point up while you were speaking. Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for highlighting that. That's a good sentence actually, too, because it tells us what the methodology is, to look at first the object or the bounty, as he says. So let's say in our example of the fruit from the tree. So look at the fruit and examine it, and look at what the qualities are that are necessary for the existence of that fruit. And then go backward and you see, okay, can the, let's say you see that for the fruit, somebody has to know that, it has to have this particular size and shape and taste, this, this color and this weight. So there's this kind of nutrition. So all those different things necessitate that somebody must have knowledge of it to give existence to that particular fruit in that way, must know about how the conditions and atmosphere and who's gonna, benefit from it, and who, all those things must be fall into the knowledge part of it. And he must have the power to give existence to that fruit, must have the will, that volition, that it should come into existence. So those at least are the three main qualities that are necessary for that fruit to be there. To when I question looking at the fruit and I see that fruit, that these things are necessary. And then I go to the bestowal, as he says, look from the bounty to the bestowal, and I look at the, the way it came, and I look at the tree, and I look at the sun, or I look at the soil and everything, the atmosphere, and I see, does the trees possess any power, any knowledge, any will? I question the sun. Does it have any power, knowledge? The power, knowledge, and will in terms of to be able to give existence to the fruit the way it is existing. So this is something that is absolute kind of knowledge, absolute power, and absolute will. And tree or the soil or anything does not, you can question it. Does it have it? And it doesn't have it. It doesn't know what what how to give, to give existence or not to even itself, by the way the tree is existing, says, I am also in need of being given existence. That's what the situation and the state of the tree is. Same thing with the sun. The sun will say, hey, myself, I am in need of being given existence. I cannot give existence to anything because I am myself am dependent and contingent upon someone to give me existence. So same thing with the soil. So from the bounty to the bestowal, and from the bestowal, think of the true bestower. So these things are not, the things in the universe that we see around us. If they are not the source of existence, then who is the actual source of existence of those things? So that sentence highlights the methodology of how we should approach, when we are interacting with the things in the universe. Thank you for pointing that out, Fariha. So if there is any other question or comment, or anybody wants to add or share something, please raise your hand. Or something is not clear. Yeah, Mustafa, go ahead, please.
So I appreciate your explanations, and I think the warning in this reading, or the guidance in it, is clear to me. The part that's not clear to me is, how does one worship causes? How, like, this is what we're warned against. What does that action look like? Is it just the acknowledgement, as it says, of a bounty which hasn't had the creator's name pronounced? Is it more than that? Is it association, as it says, of a cause to an effect? What's specifically here is it really warning us against? It's not too clear to me what specifically worship of that it means.
Yeah, thank you that's a very good question, actually, because that goes into our practical side also, on how we can see that and apply that in terms of the interactions that we do. And that's why, at least in the way the author started in the first paragraph, he's saying that, hey, all these things are, he says, one should not accept bounties which arrive at hands of apparent causes on account of the causes. So that was the first statement that was given. So basically, something is being said that, hey, you may, the causes that we think are the causes. So for example, hey, I did this, that's why the result was this, or I applied for this and I met all the criteria for such thing, and something else, the result, this is what came up. So we think that because of doing those causes, the preliminaries, and that's why the result comes because of those preliminaries or those causes that happen. And that the author is valid point he's making, that be careful, because that is where we are kind of going into misguidance, because we are thinking that is what the causes are, when those things are not the causes. They are just the associates, as he call it, or the conditions, but they are not the ones that are able to give existence to that particular act. So if I'm, for example, I don't know, throwing a ball, for example, right? And I've practiced my throw, and I think that this throw that I made is based on, my practice and everything that I went maybe over course of a few weeks. And I give the the cause to that practice. I say, hey, oh, because of that, I am able to throw this ball at this way. Although it sounds right, it sounds proper, but if I question what's going on in terms of the existence of that thing, is there any way I can say, hey, that throw that I just made is, all that training is the cause of existence of that throw. So again, it goes into the reading the universe from the existence point of view. So for example, if I look, like same thing with the example of the fruit and the trees. So yeah, it says, hey, yeah, because of that tree in the backyard, I planted that a few years ago. I'm now benefiting from all the fruits now in this season. So this is kind of the mistake that we do, in our daily lives. Then we need to again question whether, hey, if you start looking at it from the existence point of view, which is what the specialty of this author is, making sure everybody reads the universe and from the existence point of view. How is this thing coming into existence? So then the fruit, if you start looking at it from the existence point of view, then you cannot say that, hey, because I planted this and then the tree came after some time and now it's giving me the fruit. Because there is only one cause, and that is the one who gives existence to the things. So this is where the crux of the matter is in terms of how you really, in your daily interactions, are you aware in terms of who the actual true bestower is, and is it in his name that you are benefiting and taking those fruits or bounties or whatever you are enjoying? So your power of sight, for example, your walking ability, your reasoning ability, everything. If you start looking at it from the existence point of view, you cannot say that it's you who is doing all that. So that will be one will become more cognizant in terms of, hey, this existence is coming from, in his name I am doing all those things. So when I'm eating a fruit, it's in his name. When I say Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, in his name I'm eating it, I recognize that he is the one that's the source of existence of this particular fruit, the source of existence of my interaction, of the taste, the smell, and everything that I am experiencing. So that makes the looking at it, the existence point of view makes it more experiential, and I can, by recognizing who the true bestower is, that is what the point is, at least in this fourth matter. I don't know if that addressed your question, Mustafa, or we can talk further on this. Yeah, go ahead.
It does actually kind of get me to a part of my answer, the part of the answer I'm looking for. I mean, maybe my question really didn't get to the heart of what I was confused about. But the thing that really, is, inspired the question is worship of causes. Like what, to me, it kind of goes back to that. Here I am, a being in the universe, and I am enjoying a delicious orange. And what does worship of causes look like when I'm in that situation? You pointed out, I think, the solution. I think you gave, as the reading does, the solution to that is to look past the causes to the source. But I want to recognize my worship of apparent causes in my life so that I can address it. And for me, I think of myself as in that situation with the orange or the delicious food, whatever it is. I think it's clearer to think about it as a fruit. And if I were to, that eating that orange creates these feelings of gratitude in me. It creates the feeling of awe. It makes me wonder. All these emotions and feelings, and I yearn for understanding. It creates so much in me that I need to point that to something, those emotions, those thoughts, feelings. I need to direct them at something. And I think that's the critical decision that differentiates worshiping cause from worshiping source. One way to go would be to say, to look at the tree and be in awe of the tree and be like, oh, thank you, tree, in a way, as if the tree had something to do with it, right? As if the tree created the fruit. Or to thank the gardener, maybe, right? Maybe that's more palatable for me. Maybe the gardener is a family member and I'm like, thank you for this delicious orange. This was wonderful. But here what it says is there's a different choice you could make. That's worship of cause. You have these feelings and you're grateful and all these wonderful things, but unless the true source's name is mentioned, unless you recognize that the fruit you have is so much more complex than to be caused or created by a single cause, that it requires so much more, an infinite amount of power, an infinite amount of understanding, of the ability to create. I mean, all these things lead to infinite causes. Unless we have that understanding, we're going to misdirect our gratitude and our worship as an overall kind of category, right? Gratitude is part of worship. We misdirect it towards one of the causes or a couple of the causes, maybe 100 of the causes, but still it's a fallacy. It's still a worship of causes, because those are still not enough. A billion causes is not enough to create one atom of that orange. How can it make the entire orange, right? So I think that is, to me, when I appreciate something, when I let my senses, experience something, the heedless way would be to just appreciate it and not say like the name of the source, not to recognize the source. And I think that's what I should look for in my life, to say, no, here is a bounty. I need to look for where it came from and direct my gratitude towards that bounty so that it may connect the loop in a way. And that's where the gratitude deserves to go. That's the order of the universe. It's created in order for me to look to the source, rather than created for me just to enjoy it. It's actually making me turn. It's like someone yelling out in the distance and making you turn your head, be like, look over here, right? This came from somewhere. You should look, at least. And if you look, you should acknowledge. If you'd acknowledge, maybe you even do even more. And I think that's the kind of that's how I understand that.
Yeah, thank you. I think that is a very good understanding. So, for example, you gave the example of the orange when you're eating it and enjoying it, and the way you put it, that hey tree, if you say hey tree, thank you for that orange, yeah, you can thank the tree, but you cannot say that hey tree, thanks for really giving the the existence to the orange, or giving me the satisfaction and the enjoyment that I'm having by eating the orange. I mean, it sounds, the way you said it sounded funny, like, right, you cannot say all those things. So that is where the the part of worship that you're highlighting, that it triggers something in you. Basically, you want to respond by by eating the orange, and you want to say get to the one who is giving you all that fruit and that experience and the qualities that you are really appreciating, and then really recognizing those qualities, like where are they coming from in that particular moment of experience that you are having. So that is what constitutes what is, like I would say, active worship, and that's what human beings are expected to be, aware, and in terms of being really, you can say, hey, alhamdulillah, and just get on with your life. But then there's, taking up, appreciating at who actually your source of, that pleasure that you're experiencing, and who can be that source. So that is a way of connecting yourself to who your source of existence is. And really that, I think, is what, as you said it also, that is what worship would be like. But go ahead, Mustafa.
Sorry, it's just this kind of brought in another exciting kind of realization to me about you can correct me if I'm trying to taking us off the topic, but I think it's related. I think the way that scientific discovery, for example, today works is all about exactly what's written in this text about the deception of apparent causes, association, right? A paper comes out that says, if, for example, you remove something simple like water from a fish, it dies. Therefore, fish come from water. It's so simplistic, right? Like, and there are more complex papers and academic articles and journals and scientists, coming up with these theories of the world about how things work and causes and effect. And at the surface, it seems probable, right? It seems like it's possible that one thing causes another. But then you look beyond this article, this paper, and you look at the fish and you're like, I mean, where did the fish come from? Where did the water come from? What about the temperature of the water? What about the gravity that the fish is in? What about all of these things? And you could come up with 1 billion different papers and scientific theories, and you still wouldn't come up with enough causes to explain the effect. You could never do it. And I think it's the modern kind of scientific explanations are all about clouding that very obvious conclusion with more and more just noise, right? It's great to discover the world and see how the order of it, but I think the intention should be always to uncover it and say in the end, we understand a very small part of the order of the universe, but we know for sure 100% because of how infinite it looks and how infinite the causes must be, that there must be one source, right? There must be some true source that has power over all of these causes to organize them in such a way to create this just beautiful effect that is in harmony, that's bringing all these incredibly different causes together in perfect order to make this thing. And to me, that's kind of the mistake of modern scientific articles and journals and theories, is they focus on the small aspect of a thing, just one route, one road from cause to effect, and they ignore the global, the entire picture, which says, you know what, as many causes as you can provide will not have the proper effect. You need something to control all of these things in an infinite way in order to produce that.
Yeah, thank you, Mustafa. To add to that point about, like the scientific journals, as you're mentioning, see, they don't look at the existence part of things. At least when the explanations that at least that I experience and I read, it's always from a materialist point of view that, this thing happened. It was like your example of the water, and the fish. So everything that is reported or discussed or shown in a cause and effect relationship is always through a material point of view. And it's very mechanical kind of cause. This causes this and this causes that. So, but there is no question of the existence of what can be the source of existence of the result that one is experiencing. Okay, so from this cell, this came, but can you tell me how do you explain the existence of this particular cell? And how can you even make the claim that that cell caused that cell? Because that cell also is in need of being given existence. Yeah, and Fariha, you have a word procedural. Would you like to speak on that?
No, just to add on to what you were saying. So yeah, whatever is basically displayed or presented to us in secular education or any kind of scientific discovery, it's very procedural if you think about it. So like both of you were mentioning, you know, because of this happened, because of this, you know, this very like cause and effect. I mean, very obvious cause and effect relationship that we can all look into. And also, I mean, that becomes very procedural. This is like really what's apparent, very obvious, but for what? You know, it all stays here. That's all good to know. I'm happy to see this. I'm happy to know the procedure, but what do I do with it at the end of the day, really? And it again goes back to one's existential questions about, okay, so am I here just to go on knowing, you know, how things are happening and, you know, that's it? And so, yeah, bringing matter at an existential point of view, really starting from my own existence, then should help me develop in my understanding of going beyond the apparent, or really going beyond or really going to what the universe points to, or like earlier when the author was mentioning, looking for the true bestower of things. Yeah, I just wanted to say that. And also because, and that's how the education system is also set up, is things are very procedural, you know. Even the process of things getting to something is becoming complex, and that becomes also daunting and tedious. And people think, yeah, that's what education is, you know, I gotta get to, you know, the process of things. No, that's not it. There's more to it. Like, one has to think about really, how is it happening? What is the source of existence of this? What possibly be the cause of existence of things? And yeah, I just wanted to bring that up. Thank you.
Thank you, Fariha. Yeah, so I think that was what Mustafa and you were talking about. I think it's in the third paragraph, and there's a sentence in between in that paragraph which he says, you know, okay, maybe so what deceives, you know, the paragraph starts with, what deceives those who worship apparent causes, the two things coming together or being together, which is called association. They suppose the two things cause one another. And the second part of that is, since the non-existence of one thing is the cause of a bounty's non-existence, they suppose that the thing's existence is also the cause of the bounty's existence. So this is what we need to be careful about, because, you know, the way we are exposed in the, you know, with the time and space, this is where our consciousness and our awareness is really necessary to see where we can be deceived. And that is exactly how, at least the, you know, the scientific journals, as Mustafa you were mentioning, or the material side of things, this is very prevalent. And what Faria said about the, you know, the academic way of studying, because of something, the non-existence of one thing is the cause of a bounty's non-existence. So they think that, you know, it's like conditioning one's mind in terms of, hey, because this wasn't there, so that's why the result was something else. Oh, so you need that, so that is what causes this particular result. This is how we are taught in the labs, also in chemistry or whatever we are studying, that because of this is what the result is. But the methodology, at least, or the way to look at, you know, the existence of the thing, is to look at the result and the moment of existence of, hey, this result that you're seeing, what can be the cause, or what necessitates for that thing to exist in the way it is? Is it that particular other element that you thought gave existence to it? The way that it exists right now, how can you explain the existence of that thing right now? Anything. So that is what at least that, you know, where the worship will happen. I mean, one can be prevented from worshiping causes, but, you know, worshiping the true bestower of the gifts, of the bounties, of the things that we interact with. Okay, so any other comments or questions? or anything that anybody wants to say? Faria, go ahead, please.
All right. In the first paragraph, when the author mentions about here, Hamim is highlighting it. In the name of God, so you too should say in the name of God and take it for God's sake. If the cause possess will, he should say in the name of God and you may accept it. Otherwise, you should refuse it. I was just scratching my head around. Otherwise, you should refuse it. I don't know what the author means by saying this, but like what I understand, I'm just concerned with my responsibility. As far as I'm concerned, I have to be in recognition of the true bestower of things. So somebody give me a gift, so I just say, take it in the name of the source of my existence and thank you. And that should be the matter in a nutshell for me. But I was just wondering why the author is saying, otherwise you should refuse it. Maybe, I don't know, I'm just perhaps speculating here. If maybe I have a hunch about someone's intention in terms of giving me like a gift or doing me a favor or because of this, I don't know. I'm just wondering, like maybe if somebody's giving me a gift so they can get a promotion at work. I don't know why is the author mentioning this part, because I'm at this point I'm just concerned. As far as I'm concerned, I should just say, oh, thank you in the name of my Lord. So what does everybody think about otherwise you should refuse it? What does the author mean by that? Thank you.
All right, there's a question to the participants here. If anybody wants to explain this particular phrase, at least a part of the otherwise you should refuse the bounty or whatever the thing that you're getting. If the cause possesses will, he should say in the name of God and you may accept it, otherwise you should refuse it. So what is this otherwise you should refuse it really? How do we understand this? If anybody wants to chime in, please raise your hand and explain it. And I think Fariha was, from what I understood, was on the right track, but if anybody wants to add anything. All right, so my take, at least from what I understood, Fariha, as you were saying, I think you said it. I mean, I don't think anybody has the right to judge or say anything to make anyone else say, hey, I'm giving this in the name of God or anything. Everything has to do with you, first of all. So in your being, you are able to see that. Are you able to read that this is a blessing from your Lord or not? Otherwise, if you are not able to do that, then that is not something that you are gonna be, it's not gonna be benefit to you. So it's not it falls out of what worship is. So really it is something that it has to do with me. How do I read, or do I see who the true bestower of the bounty is? Who is the actual giver? Who is the provider? Who is the source of the existence of whatever I am interacting with, whatever I'm getting? And in his name, should I be using it and benefiting it? So that is what being grateful is, and that is what my thank would constitute, that I am recognizing who the true owner and who the true provider of that bounty is. Anybody else wants to further comment on this or say something else? All right, that's fine. Is Fariha, does that make sense, or you want to try to explain it further, or?
No, I think that makes sense. I should just be concerned with my responsibility and whatever feelings or thoughts that are occurring. in between any kind of transaction, one just has to be true to their, human nature in terms of, oh, this is a bounty coming from the source of my existence. So thank you. And I also wanted to point out the second last paragraph on page 182. You know how the author mentions, where is it? For example, someone who does not open the canal to water the garden is the reason and cause of the garden drying up and the non-existence of bounties. But the existence of the garden's bounties is dependent on hundreds of conditions besides the man's duty. And, sorry. To remove this thing. Besides the man's duty, and the bounties come into beings through dominical will and power. So, yeah, like earlier when we were mentioning about how we can get caught up with the apparent causes, and there's no denying that how things are very interdependent, codependent, or supporting each other in terms of producing a result, or how we see the order working in the universe. And the author does mention here that there are hundreds of conditions like that. And besides, there's man's duty as well. Like, I'm just a recipient of all this. Like, even with the usage of my free will, I'm not producing anything. I'm not the source of existence of anything. But definitely when I interact with something, just like the fruit, there must be, I conclude there must be a will and power and knowledge behind all this. And yeah, it's just a matter of really recognizing the true owner and source of existence of things that helps one stay on the right track of worship. Because at the end of the day, we are all inclined to be grateful towards things, and like to acknowledge things, to acknowledge anything that helps us or provide any kind of support in anything that we need help with. So, and we're inclined to express our gratitude, but then we have to go like beyond the created things, in terms of we have to see the source of existence of things to really gratitude to things. Otherwise, we can get lost just within the universe. I'm grateful for this. I'm grateful for what the tree's providing. Just examples, and I'm grateful for creation in the universe. And again, realizing that everything created is also transient like me. We are all subject to die. So what is it that I need to worship, or what is it that I really need to be grateful for? And yeah, I think that's what this point made me remember. Thank you.
Thank you for the comment. Okay, so any other comment by anyone or any questions? Please feel free to raise your hand. Any confusion or any clarification, we can work towards it together, inshallah. I mean, there are examples that Faria, you highlighted about the garden and the bounties coming into existence is a whole different matter. When we looked at it, that the water is just one of the preliminaries, and because they're so close together, they are the associates. So in our mind, it may seem that, hey, yeah, somebody forgot this, so that's why the garden didn't produce as much, because didn't get enough water. There was not, this is how at least the media shows that, because of this, and the fires and blah 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 state, and then this happened, and then agriculture crops suffered. This is how everything in this, this civilization, that's the way they talk about things. But so this is something important to understand, at least, that to look at things from the existence point of view and seeing how can you explain the existence of whatever that you are interacting with. So that was the example of the garden, and I think the other example is also a pretty practical example, the one he gives about the the teaching from the teachers, and his private personal example, as the author shares, that some of his students were over grateful because they thought that you forget sometimes that who is actually the true owner and the bestower, who is the actual giver of whatever gift or bounty or fruit that you're getting or you're benefiting from, who is actually the one who is in charge and who is putting that for you, who is. So we may confuse that, and that's what the author gives this good example again about to be aware and more conscious of realizing where the actual bounty is coming from. So everything that you see as the preliminaries, that this is the stage or this is the particular dependency or the cause of things, everything is given existence by that same source. So none of them can be the source of existence of the result, but all of them, as we see them or read them, the dependencies are all given existence, and they must, just like in the case of the fruit and the tree. So everything, including the fruit and the tree and the atmosphere and the soil, everything has to be given existence at the same time. So that is something that, at least I need to also think about more and work on it, because this is something we always, deal with on a daily basis in everything, in our professions, in the way we interact with the universe. Yeah, Mustafa, go ahead.
So another part of this reading that stood out for me was the last quote that he had to his students. Right at the end of the second to last paragraph, he says, "I do not thank you, but congratulate you. You too pray for me and congratulate me rather than be grateful to me." I find the idea of congratulating someone who gives you something a little comical, right? If someone gives you a gift, or just prepares a nice meal for you, saying congratulations, it just seems comical to me. But I understand the sentiment behind it, that it's an acknowledgement that this bounty, this gift that has been transferred, that gratitude only belongs to the source of it, right? It seems it's kind of like thanking the delivery man for the contents of the box, right? The mailman had nothing to do with it, doesn't even know what's in the box most of the time. In that scenario, it seems kind of comical to thank the mailman for the contents of the mailbox. It would be kind of strange to congratulate them too, but that's where and I think the analogy falls apart. But back to my point is that for me, it stood out because let's say I'm on the other side. Let's say I'm the one who's giving, or let's say I'm the one who prepared the meal or picked the fruit or grew the tree from my garden and then gave the fruit to someone. This is a reminder to me that I should not be seeking out gratitude or thanks. I should not, let myself be too caught up in that. If I do something amazing, for example, and people are very happy about it. If I provide 1,000 oranges to a group of people and they love them, and they may not understand fully this idea, and they thank me, right? They give me all this attention and all this gratitude. This is, to me, reminds me, hey, this is not for you, this gratitude, this thanks. You should really turn it into a kind of warmth that your creator used you to make all these people's lives better, to give them an opportunity to connect with the source of this bounty. And this is also an opportunity for me to appreciate that I am a servant of my creator, that I am being used in a way, in the same way that a tree is used um, to show us humans, how orderly, how beautiful, or just to show the characteristics and of our creator, of its creator, the tree's creator. So in the same way, when I am giving a bounty, or really transferring, I'm delivering a bounty, is the way I should think about it. I should think about that as a bounty in itself from my creator. And that's why it's sort of, what I should seek out is congratulations rather than gratitude, in a way. And that's kind of a funny thing to think about, but it makes sense to me, because then it also I set myself up for disappointment, right? If I create a huge meal, a massive meal, and I give it to someone I really love and appreciate, and if I expect gratitude and it's not there, then there's a huge disappointment, right? All this work I put in, all this kind of effort of my time, I connect myself to something I shouldn't. I don't have any real ownership of. And because of that, the disappointment hits me much harder, right? The lack of gratitude is suddenly mine. And I am somehow, falsely feel that I have not been given my due. But in reality, I've already kind of been given what I need, what I want. I've been given the lesson in the bounty, right? All this beautiful food, all this ability to shape it, to spice it, to make it taste good. All this comes not from me. I don't know these things. This comes from the creator. And that in itself is something for me to be happy about, regardless of what the people think who are eating the food, or whether they give gratitude or not. As long as I have mentioned the name of the creator and recognize it, I get all I need from delivering that bounty.
Yeah, thanks for the comment. Now I'm looking at that sentence also, as you said. I do not thank you, but congratulate you. You too pray for me and congratulate me rather than being grateful to me. So I think the distinction, as you were highlighting also, you pointed that out about the gratitude, where does it go to? And this reminded me also about the Al-Fatiha, in terms of Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. All praise is, goes to the one who gives you existence. All praise to God, Allah. So that is where all, the thanks and praise has to go as well. But I'm not exactly sure also on how, the way congratulate is using what exactly. Maybe I don't know how it's written in the Turkish version, or what he actually means by saying that. Maybe because of it, everything becomes like a means for you to learn from. So every condition, everything that you're interacting with, and the apparent causes that you thought at one point becomes a means. So the postman also, so that's why, in order to make the actual thanks or shukr to where it actually belongs, and to the means, is what the difference I would say is. So I see a comment. Congratulations on being chosen as the shining mirror of your creator. Perhaps I comment on the usage of free will. Yeah, I think that makes sense to me also in terms of being employed by that source of existence and becoming the means or the vehicle through which one really understands who to thank. So I saw Adam's comment, but Adam, would you like to say something? We haven't heard your voice in a while.
Oh, thank you, Jazakallah. Thank you. I haven't, I'm sorry, today has been a little in and out. So yeah, this congratulations, he doesn't describe it. It seems like where or why. It needs its own, maybe kind of sub discussion. But my understanding is that congratulating one for thinking about it, reflecting on it, but also using their free will, like you said, using their human qualities to acknowledge who the real owner is. So yeah, I mean, it relates more to this than taking credit. You know, using your qualities is the purpose, right? As the reading of the text was emphasizing this earlier, where it said, you know, of course, don't take from one who doesn't give in God's name, and also the one who really reminds you of where the source of the things are from. You know, that's doing it in the right way. And so again, you cannot attribute, you cannot directly give ownership to anyone or anything in this world, but you can congratulate it. If it's a person, maybe you could say, you know, if a person's using their consciousness, they're using their free will accordingly. If it's a being, if it's a being, not a non-living being, even it too, in a sense, maybe is also using its qualities or present as the way it's speaking in its tongue of disposition, is also using its qualities. So this acknowledgement, congratulations, I think it just further fosters awareness of Bismillah, or in the name of God.
Yeah, agreed. Thank you for that. So basically we can, you know, congratulate also, you know, if you are thinking, you know, in your being that, yeah, this is coming from my Lord, and this bounty that I'm having is coming from my Lord, and this individual or thing or the tree has been employed, so I can say thanks, but I recognize that this thanks to, it goes to my Lord, but in recognition that the person is using their free will, and that is what, you know, in that is something that I am grateful as well to my Lord, that, you know, this message is of where the, you know, true bounty or the true bestower, who is the true owner of that, is being recognized. So that's how I understood it, and that was good. I think that makes sense to me, because, you know, in our daily dealings we do say, you know, hey, okay, thanks, but, you know, we should have that understanding that, you know, this is a person who has exercised their free will and has, you know, has been employed to, you know, on the one who gives existence on his behalf to, you know, to benefit you. Okay, Mustafa, go ahead, please.
You said it really, really well right at the end there. I think both you and Adam mentioned this, which is what really is for me the exciting part of it. Is for me, using your free will yes, maybe that's cause for congratulations, right? If I follow my order correctly, using my qualities in the right way, these are all things that are worthy of congratulation. But to me, this particular congratulations in this example is about his service to his students to deliver this bountiful message, to deliver this understanding. And being chosen as the mailman for that is a very special honor to me. It is it is something to really congratulate someone on if they help you understand. Like if someone cooks a wonderful meal for me, or even more purely, and I think a more pure example is you guys, right? During this halaqah, if you make a wonderful point that gets me excited and that makes me understand my creator, this universe I'm in, my station in it much better, and kind of brings that harmony to my life, I want to congratulate you because you were the mailman for this. You were chosen this in this higher station. You were given this responsibility, which is a great honor. And I want to really congratulate you for being chosen for that, for being kind of trusted to deliver that in a pure way so that I can understand it. And that to me is really the essence of this congratulations.
Yeah, very well said. Thank you for that. It's a good comment. Any other person, anyone else who wants to comment or say something? We're a few minutes away before we close. Fariha, go ahead.
Nothing new, but just adding on to what everyone shared. This paragraph when the author is mentioning about, like if our master had not come here, we would not have received this instruction. So this his instruction is the cause of our benefiting. Like careful using of the words, because it then brings a meaning of things. So again, like with this kind of understanding or explaining anything that I interact with, definitely that I'm not worshiping it. I'm not worshiping really what I'm supposed to, or what I'm given existence for. And then when we were reading this paragraph, what was occurring to me was, yeah, it's interesting. And I think Mustafa also highlighted when we're getting a meaning or understanding of something. And I was thinking, yeah, even how, because we're all seeking guidance, we all need to, we're all looking to like enlighten our spirit. Or so I was thinking, how am I getting guidance, even with things like the text we're reading, the author, and people sharing out. So again, not falling into like the author really like made good use of wordings here. It's like really totally makes sense. Not falling into this kind of causal explanation of things, rather recognizing that everything is created, everything in the universe is given existence, just like I am given existence. So anything of the nature of this universe cannot be it. Anything of the nature of this universe cannot be the source of my existence, or cannot be the one that I need to thank. So yes, I'm grateful. How we say, hey, high five, teamwork, hey, good job, right? Well done. Let's applaud each other. But at the end of the day, I'm really grateful for the source of my existence for presenting me with this, setting me up in such a situation. And that's that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for pointing that out also. So, I mean, I think we can see that how, the last sentence about, he says you can understand from this how many degrees there are in heedlessness. So again, this author, I could say, is employed, right? And I have to thank my Lord for me to become aware in terms of that there is things that, such as, what I may be seeing as cause and effect, or the associations, and not seeing things from their existence point of view. So, that is what, at least, getting out of this heedlessness and being more in tune or aware of, as a human being, using myself as my human qualities to really recognize who, all these qualities that I experience belong to. So, alhamdulillah, that was a really good discussion, I would say. So I know we have a few minutes left, but I think we should leave the next matter for next time, because I don't think we have enough time for that. So if anyone else has any other comment for this fourth matter, and they can go right now. Otherwise, I think this would be a good point to conclude here.
Sorry, I was trying to find my hand raising button. I couldn't find it. Did you discuss today this topic of the two coming together, arriving together?
Arriving together. So, I mean, we touched upon it a little bit in terms of when we are picking the fruit from the tree. So everything, including the fruit, the tree, the atmosphere, the soil, everything has to be given existence. So they're all coming together. Is that the point you wanted to highlight, or something else?
Right. Yeah, I think it relates to this. The things are coming together. I think you did say this earlier. I was listening a little bit where you said about time and space makes it appear as though they're sequential or causal, but in reality, they are all in fact coming together. So that I think relates to what we've just been talking about. This issue of what's really a source and what's the cause, because everything is coming together and equally needs to be created, then it is not correct to ascribe it causal properties or causal agency. So yeah, I just wanted to confirm if that was discussed, and thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that also. So that's, brings to the point about, like, every cause that we see as a cause actually is an effect, because everything is given existence at that point, at that moment in time. So there is only one cause, and there must be only one cause, because if we really start looking at the qualities of the result, we cannot see that anything in the universe could be the cause of that. So our conclusion directly goes to the one who is the source of existence of that, whatever the result that we are seeing. Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, so I think if anybody else has any other thing to say, please raise your hands. Otherwise, I'll give the mic to Fariha.
All right, so let's end here, inshallah, for today. Next week, we can pick up with the fifth matter. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Subhanaka la ilma lana illa ma 'allamtana innaka antal alim al-hakim. Glory be unto you. We have no knowledge saved except that which you've taught us. Indeed, you are all knowledgeable, all wise. Wa akhiru da'wahum anil hamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Bi hurmati Surah al-Fatiha.